This week in Jamaica Now, more on the Energy World saga. The OUR sacked of responsibility for the project, but the Energy Minister, Philip Paulwell, stays put. Contractor General says he did nothing wrong when he expressed discomfort about sitting at the same table with the mayor of Maypen. 30 years of records up in smoke at a St. Mary High School. And who should be blamed? The long-awaited American Airlines crash report makes the call. The details of these and other stories coming up after the break.
Reach anyone, anywhere in the world with the Gleaner Online. Send your brand on the go with 292,000 users of our mobile apps. And broadcast your messages to over 200,000 fans and followers on our social media network. Increase, target, track.
I'm Damion Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. The controversial project to construct a mega energy plant in Jamaica has been yanked from the Office of Utilities Regulation and assigned to a 6-member enterprise team which will report to the Cabinet. The development follows intense public pressure on the government after the Energy Minister, Philip Paulwell, amended the license of the Hong Kong-based Energy World International. There were also calls for Mr. Paulwell to resign, but Mr. Paulwell will remain as the Energy Minister, and as a Cabinet member, he will continue to be critical in the approval process. In fact, our investigations reveal that it's his signature that will be on future documents relating to the energy project. But the government is taking steps to revoke the license the Energy Minister granted to EWI. In the meantime, the embattled Energy Minister continues to enjoy the support of his constituents.
I appreciate your support.
I know that.
I really feel it.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
You know that my struggle is your struggle.
Yes.
You know that you are suffering.
Yes.
And we have to ease that pain.
But financial consultant Aubin Hill says Jamaicans must demand from politicians a set of standards which, if breached, will result in the sacking of government ministers. Mr. Hill says if there is no accountability, then politicians will continue to act with impunity. And the president of the private sector organization of Jamaica, Chris Zaka, has welcomed the government's move to have the EWI license revoked. Mr. Zaka says every effort should be made to ensure that the revamped 381-megawatt project is transparent. The PSOJ, along with other private sector groups, had argued that the energy project was compromised and should be aborted.
Our feelings as partners are not respected, then clearly we would have to address on a much wider basis than the three of us what the relationship would be going forward in terms of partnership.
The Contractor General, Dirk Harrison, is maintaining that he did nothing wrong when he said he was uncomfortable sitting at the same table with the Mayor of Maypen, Cian Barneswell, at a function in Clarendon. Mr. Harrison's comments has upset some members of the Clarendon Parish Council as well as the Association of Local Government Authorities. They believe the Contractor General was unprofessional and should therefore say sorry to Mr. Barneswell. But Mr. Harrison, who notes that he expressed his feelings to the Custos of Clarendon, says given the court matter involving Mr. Barneswell, he wanted to guard against any perception of impropriety through inappropriate contact. Mr. Barneswell is before the courts for breaches of the Contractor General's Act. And Mr. Harrison says, as the complainant in the case and having given a statement, there is the potential that he may be called as a witness. The Contractor General says it's a time-honored legal protocol that witnesses avoid all contact with an accused in cases before a criminal court. The report on the 2009 crash of an American Airlines plane in Kingston is in, and the flight crew is being blamed. The Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority released the report last week, 5 years after the December 22, 2009 incident. It says the plane crash could have been avoided if the flight crew had not ignored certain precautions and if the pilots had received adequate training in tailwind landing. The transcript of the last words of the pilots before the crash showed the flight crew appeared too relaxed and only became concerned about ground conditions 5 minutes before landing. The Civil Aviation Authority has recommended, among other things, that air traffic controllers follow stricter rules when assigning runways and for pilots to be given fewer options for landing when there's a tailwind. The Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has called for Jamaicans to commit to resisting criminal elements invading and damaging schools. Her appeal came as officials of the Tacky High School in St. Mary seek to recover from a devastating fire started by robbers after the watchman failed to give them the code to a safe. The fire destroyed the administrative building that housed the staff room, the records area, the canteen, and the book room, as well as a multi-purpose hall. All the school's records, dating back more than 30 years, were among the items destroyed. Principal Errol Basco says the incident represents an attack on education.
Whatever happened here today is not going to hurt me or you or anyone in this room. What happened here today is a direct attack on the children. So some almost 1,200 children are hurting from what took place today. And when a society can turn on children, then it tells us that we have dark days coming.
There has been mixed reactions to the decision of the Education Ministry to take over the approval of all book lists. In his contribution to the sectoral debate last week, the Education Minister, Ronald Thwaites, says the Education Ministry has reviewed all book lists and will be approving the ones to be used by schools. The National Parent-Teacher Association of Jamaica says this will help to address the long-standing issue of parents being asked to spend exorbitant amounts on supplementary textbooks. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Teachers Association, while welcoming the move, cautioned the ministry against overstepping the authority of teachers. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. You may tune in to Power 106 FM for regular updates. Follow us on Twitter at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. I'm Damion Mitchell, and as we go, a look back at Kraal 11 years after 4 people were killed in a reported police shootout.
May 7th marks the 11th anniversary of the tragic killing of 4 persons in Kraal, Clarendon. Residents remember that ill-fated day all too well.
The one named 18, he was standing right at the window there, so, and Bulby was standing right here, so. So when the van come there, so, and stop, and the man them start bail out of the van now, him finds a police, and him say, be a police, and by him say, be a police. If one of the police lick a shot after him, right there, so, and then him bend down and took off and go, so, and them run him down, go cross up, licking be a shot after him, and Bulby them turn down under there, so with chen them, and a portion of them run him them down. There be a machine gun turn, and the whole of them trees where you can look back there, down there, chop up with gunshot. Because that's here we, you know. But then see, it's a shootout, and we couldn't have nothing to prove differently from the trees then we chop up. So when the gunshot start now, them bust the door and go inside. And a be a gunshot on the wall when you come here, the door they shoot up. A government come put on back that the door there. Man. The man say, old man, I can tell you. And inside they kill the woman and kill one under the bed. And one pan one bed, a 2 bed was in that place there. So one over there and one over there. So they kill one of the woman under that bed and kill one pan this bed over here. So the one that they have, our little girl say, when the police kick off the door and come in there, and she had jar out her mother's hand, and her mother hold her tight, and she said the police squeeze her mother's throat, and her mother let her go, and him carry her come out here, and said she must go under the mango tree, go sit down and go back in and go shoot Mummy, and shoot Angie under the bed. So he said police and him go back in, they go kill them.